One, Qiao gonna ban out Azir and Jace, so 2 bans being thrown at RNG's mid lane as Rise, the first ban away there, along with Kalista.
I completely agree with this. I think this is incredibly smart. My thing about Xiaohu, he looks amazing as we have 3 mid lane bans going down. He looks amazing on very specific champions. If you take those away from him, where does he go? How does he look?
Yep, Ezreal, the last ban there for Qiao means that is 3 mid lane bans and 3 good mid laners as well, all taken out of the pool. RNG though, after Kalista Rise, have one more selection to make, and it is going to be Echo away from Swift.
Victor is still up on the board, likewise so is Janna. We saw Janna banned repeatedly yesterday in multiple different sets, so the LPL really prioritizing the hard disengage, especially since the hard engage supports Nautilus and Alistar were so strong for so long.
Yeah, feels like Gragas Janna's been the most popular jungle support duo in the last few weeks, and no one's really banning either of those champions. So
Shin is also up.
Yep.
I feel like
Qiao, do you have decisions to make? Hovering Janna right now, but again, with so many target bans, you just give so much back to a team that's drafting on the red side.
Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, because from red side, you're going to get second rotation, 2 different champions. I would suspect Shin to go into this rotation, as well as the Gragas, because again, I feel like you can't let a team have both disengage of Cask and Monsoon. So this is what I would expect.
Yep, I think so as well, as we do have the Janna pick there for Qiao. So there's 1 disengage ulti. MLXG's also looked just fine on the Gragas himself, so perfectly serviceable pick for the jungle player, but did see a Braum hover there from Qiao. Certainly been another pick that is picking up speed in the LPL.
It could also just speak to MLXG's. I mean, he can play Gragas, but it's not nearly kind of his forte or a champion that he really likes. You have to think more about Rek'Sai, Nidalee, Vi, champions like that for MLXG versus the Gragas pick, which has done wonders for Swift. By picking up your support in second rotation, the fact that Janna's already on the board, it pretty much just hides your hand and allows you for a bit more counter pick play. So again, I think this just speaks to MLXG's discomfort on Gragas.
Shen Braum, the pickups there, and Doinby insta-locks Victor as his mid laner. Another pick that surprising to see go so late. Qiao, I believe, has had some play on the champion, but isn't going to get it this particular game. And Swift has the Gragas open, but considering Lee Sin at least for now. But even just on those 2 picks, Janna, Victor, Qiao are doing very well in this draft.
This is actually really clever if he decides to commit to this Lee Sin. I feel like it's going to be Lee Sin or Gragas, just because Braum, early levels on Lei, and Mako really revolutionized this in the Demacia Cup. You just immediately start roaming, walking into the enemy jungle, and just punching them repeatedly in the face. So if you take a hard or a very early powerful jungler like Lee Sin, you still get that disengage that Gragas would give you with the Cask, but obviously with your Dragon Rage kick. But it makes it that much more dangerous for the Braum to team up with his jungler to come into Lee Sin's jungle. Well, not only because he's incredibly mobile, but again, can just murder you.
Yeah, good thing to think about. But Vayne actually the selection there for Qiao. So going to go with that popular Vayne Janna. I know you're a big fan of that one for us, Gurun, but whoosh, you'd think it was a takeaway, but he has been a lot more diverse recently.
It's definitely still acting as a denial, though. I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm a huge fan of the Janna Vayne lane. I think the only thing that is better right now in the current meta is probably Kog'Maw Janna, but still very close just because of how much synergy Janna gives Vayne as a champion. Vayne's going to get a mid-game power spike just off of her itemization, having that Blade of the Rune King complete, as well as Janna's mid-game power spike of having the level 9 shield to augment more damage on top of it. And then she's also going to a late-game hyperscale because she is the Vayne. So I just love everything that Vayne's bringing right now, but only in tandem with Janna. If Janna wasn't there, I'd be like, no, don't pick Vayne, pick Sivir, pick anyone else. But Janna Vayne, excellent.
Yeah, well, there's Janna Vayne for Qiao, but Braum Graves there for RNG, and a Kassadin pick into that Victor there for Qiao. Kind of interesting to leave Victor open, but Qiao is comfy on Kassadin.
We've seen a lot of Kassadins being picked up in the LPL as kind of a soft counter to Victor, and how it works and the theory behind it is Victor, if you jump up on top of him, he doesn't have any escapes. His _1 thing that he's going to do is he's going to drop the gravitational field on top of himself, maybe even a Chaos Storm, and he's just going to try to lock you down. But the Rift Walk cooldown is just so punishing that you can just outmaneuver any of Victor's hard CC. Again, early levels 1 through 5 for Kassadin, it's never going to be fun. Your shield's enough that you're going to be able to survive the lane, just farm it up. But as soon as he's level 6, he actually has a lot of kill pressure, and it's somewhat scary for Victor in a lane.
I think so as well, especially depending on the jungler that RNG select, but they've been hiding that pick until their last one here is Qiao, trying to figure out the best way to round out their lineup. We talked about Gragas and Lee Sin. Either would be a fine pick here for Xiaogu, and V almost always defaults back to a tank. I think that's a team decision more than anything else. Gragas and Maokai, the last 2 picks.
You have a ton of zone control right now. That's Xiaogu's composition. It's all about TNT, empowering him, controlling the space around him. You still have hypercarry potential from the Victor. Victor's just way too good right now. If I were to think about the most, I don't want to say broken, but just powerful champion and everything that he's going to offer, I think it's Victor, especially for the Chinese region, just because of how creative they are about terrain use when they're fighting in their 5v5s. Victor, for me, is almost the AP Jarvan. If you think back to China's love of Jarvan for so long, it was because of how they would use the Cataclysm in the middle of terrain to split up team fights. They do the exact same thing with the gravitational field.
Yeah, I saw you mention that yesterday on Twitter, and I agree. The only nice thing is that Jarvan, if you think about him, especially AD Jarvan, does a lot of burst damage. So does Victor. Jarvan just doesn't do the same consistent same consistent damage.
Yes, the same
Victor
damage.
Is even better.
He's just over walls, great wave clear, has incredible terrain use, incredible CC, mid-game power spike, late-game scaling.
Fine in lane.
He's a great
Makes
champion.
You breakfast. He's great. Really great there. As Evelyn is the last pick up there for RNG. MLXG, again, sticking to those relatively aggressive junglers, but everyone is going away from Rek'Sai.
Yeah,
Just nobody wants to play her anymore. Poor Rek'Sai.
Obviously, we're on the 5.13 patch, so Runeglaive is available. We've seen a lot of Cinderhulk Evelyns as well.
I saw a warrior yesterday. Okay.
So we'll see.
I've seen some stuff.
I've seen some stuff. We'll see what path MLXG decides to go down. Again, we talked about the Cassidy pickup. Twisted Fate was available, and you know, Xiao, his champion pool has looked a little bit limited, but typically when we see a Vayne that early in rotation, the obvious answer is to look for TF to abuse the destiny on Vayne. So they had that option. We'll see if the Cassidy works out for them a little bit better.
I like putting a Xiao on this big type of carry. I think Cassidon's probably serviceable against Vayne, if not good, but do you have to somehow navigate all the aggression of Swift and his Gragas and the power of Doinby and TNT? It is never easy to take on Xiaogu, but RNG going to give it a good crack. Both teams actually drafting quite well as we do start in the top lane. It is Maokai up against Shen.
Let me formally the top laner of the GAMT, but in the jungle where the featured matchup should be, it's Swift versus MLXG, Gragas versus Evelyn.
Yeah, we'll see who can get the aggressive edge there, if anyone, as Doinby back on his Victor will be taking on the Cassidon there for Xiao, so mixing it up a bit. And of course, TNT has got a lot of attention recently there, but Vayne into Graves should be a whole lot of fun.
I like how his hair matches her picture, but joining them in the bot lane, the supports, it's TCT, formerly known as LMQ Moore, against Lei, Braum versus Janna.
I'm sort of curious to see how aggressive the bottom lanes get, because especially on the
you think we're gonna have a
RNG
2v2?
side, if we have a 2v2, Whoosh on Graves sounds very aggressive, to say the least.
We've seen a lot of Graves play actually fairly recently, Imp and Mystic.
Yeah, looks good there. We'll see how Graves does today as we're going to get onto the riff for game number 1. And here we are as Doinby and the Victor move out of his base at level 1 here, as Xiaogu take to the rift against RNG for our first game here of day 2 of week number 10 for us. It's getting awfully close to the regular season's over. Summer has been long, and for both these teams, there is still shot. I guess for Xiaogu, playoffs are in sight. They're probably prepping there, but RNG, they can make a run here, and it all starts with this game after the 2-0 yesterday. They could squeak in as our 8th team in playoffs.
I mean, let's be honest. Everyone looked at the schedule yesterday and just, okay, this is going to be a 2-0 one way or the other. And RNG versus Snake, everyone's like, 2-0 for Snake, RNG done. Pulled out the 3 points, making a pretty competitive run for that 8th place spot. So, like you said, it will start here. They need to find the win because they need 3 more points.
Adorable from Swift. Takes body slam at level 1, goes over the Baron wall toward the red buff there. Like we see all the time. Want to make sure you ward those camps up against Evelyn.
We will also have a lane swap, as we see so Swift getting vision on that top side of the map. They're going to move Vayne and Janna up there.
Yep. Like we mentioned, don't really want the 2v2 up against Graves and Braum, so happy to swap away as MLXG. Thinking about where he wants to start. I guess he is going to go for this red buff, but
he knows that it's warded.
He does. Haven't seen him yet. Evelyn's still invisible. But they are going to start here. MLXG will be spotted.
Okay, so we'll see what they do with this information. So again, MLXG knows that Xiaogu understand where his jungle pathing has started. I don't think Swift will look for any sort of invade to try to challenge the blue buff, so just pretty standard start from both of them.
Yep. So they've seen the lane swap as well. Let Me will continue jungling there with MLXG. They'll go horizontally rather than vertically today, and Swift and V are going to do exactly the same thing.
And the big reason why, naturally, both top laners are the junglers is because the lane swap has been initiated. Curious to see where Janna's going to go. And we talked about the unlocking of Braum level 1. He's like, hey, what's up?
Yep, already there in towards the mid lane. Doinby going to get aggressed on here as well. MLXG's popped in. Plays here as well. That's a lot of damage at level 1. Doinby hitting 2. The extra health going to help out.
Doinby's still going to be okay, managing to hold on to both of his summoners. Will be forced to pop a pot, so this is just going to alleviate a lot of pressure on Cassidy, again, between those levels 1 through 5.
I actually liked where Xiaogu started their jungle pathing, if for no other reason than they actually spotted Lei going for that roam at level 1.
Yeah, it did offer more protection to Doinby's side. That said, he could have just warded the bottom side or wait to the top.
Too hard. Far too hard. Rather have your team there to make sure it's A-okay. Doinby hits level 3 there. Cassidy going to do what he can to last hit under that turret, but the double jungling continues here. And for the most part, the bottom lanes have been left untouched, so free farm Graves and Vayne as we're going to move in towards the mid-game.
One of those is very different than the other, however. So again, I like the fact that Graves is kind of coming back into rotation. We haven't seen a ton of it. It's mostly been a lot of Kog'Maw, a lot of Vayne, but 80 carries that get a mid-game power spike, either through itemization like Corki, like Vayne, like Kog'Maw, or through just their natural tendencies like Graves. Coming back because, again, these hyper-scaling mages will meet you late game, so you kind of need a bridge from your 80 carry position to cover all bases and all power through the course of the game.
Yep, makes sense there. We see actually a fast push starting now as well. RNG doing decent damage to that turret is MLXG and Let Me looking for some creeps here on the bottom right-hand side, but haven't found any yet, and it's Xiaogu that actually get the first steal away of that rapid camp.
Doinby covering them by shoving Xiaohu in, although he has to be very careful because he has Ignite.
Yep. I mean, Doinby does have Cleanse, so probably not going to die unless he oversteps a little too far, but trying to bait Cassidy in there as V is also setting up for a game.
We'll have Flash Twisted Advance because V is level 3. I think Xiaohu knows what's up.
Yep, I think so too.
Which is why I look at Lei.
Oh wow. The Goon Squad has come to the mid lane. Xiaohu getting dove. Damage is there. Knockup will happen, but first blood goes in. There's the next kill very quickly. That was Gragas will fall. V lucky to be alive as he flashes out. And RNG, nice little counter gang.
But it's the big difference of where the gold ended up. TCT, the Janna, got the first blood on the side of Xiaogu, whereas MLXG picked up the return kill. 100 less gold, but where would you rather have it, your jungler or your support?
Well, RNG will take it for now. Here is blue buff. Evelyn's going to move back into the enemy jungle and take away that raptor camp. Let Me will sit here mid as well, as he's just keeping the wave frozen here. TCT actually can do some damage. These creeps are not messing around.
This is so good for Xiaohu, though, because not only will it keep the wave in a nice position for him, but likewise, he doesn't lose out on the fact that he just got dove underneath his tower, despite the fact that it traded 1-for-1. He also gets all of that experience and gold.
Oh, TCT now, level 3, going to walk past Evelyn Braum. Not enough there. Damage not quite there without the passive. And TCT will get out safely.
Xiaogu have this tendency over the course of multiple games where they'll constantly check into the weak side of their jungle. They do this all the time. V is primarily the big proponent of it, but just to see Lei walk in, what are you doing, buddy? You don't have control over that side of the map at all.
I like that he's a proponent rather than a culprit. It's like an intentional decision.
Exactly.
Trust me, guys, this is good. There's Whoosh. Getting some more creeps here.
I'm not going to take him down for it.
You see, it's pretty even on the 80 carries there as well, so Graves and Vayne nice and happy. TNT going to go back first. By the looks of things, Wave's in a decent spot, and we'll go back and spend some early money. They
are going to make their swap back, so looking for that dragon control as we see V move back up into the top side. Does have the teleport available, but missing his flash. And while everyone's resetting, Xiaogu then understands that they have a window of opportunity to move in and to place these deep wards.
You can see Janna actually towards mid again there. I think paired up with Swift for some of that vision he talked about. Xiaohu, level 6 now though with his blasting one, so relatively comfortable there up against Thornby and his Hex Core upgrade.
But this is really beautiful. So yeah, they got the first blood, wasn't on the best target going on to Janna, but they're swapping Vayne back into the 2v2, vying for dragon control. But she also has the itemization of having the Bilgewater Cutlass complete. And again, just kind of the attack speed itemization in conjunction with the Janna shield that's going to give you the flat AD. When Vayne is level 5, she's about to get her level 6, which will then augment her attack damage even more with the final hour.
Doinby gonna get jumped on here as well.
Oh
Qiao
my
level
God.
6 damage is huge. Needs to flash forward, but MLXG secures the kill.
And we talked about, you know, that first blood goal, Janna versus Evelynn. Eve has a sheen right now. You saw that ridiculous amounts of burst damage. That's what it was based off of.
See TNT trying to pressure down the bottom side, but Braum will walk his way back down. MLXG spots V there, walking in towards the red buff at level 5. Maokai fairly strong, but Shen going to come down here as well. V will get spotted. The collapse is here. Xiaohu going to come down now as well, try and take this kill. V completely out of position, and Xiaohu gets a freebie.
Remember what I said about V just walking into places where he doesn't have any sort of power? Your mid laner's dead, buddy. Best case scenario, that's already going to be a 3v1 because your mid laner's dead.
Don't worry, his jungler's doing red buff. It's totally safe. As Whoosh, but now with a BF sword and Lei returning to his lane. Level 6 there as well for the AD carries.
It was intentional. He was a proponent of it.
As Whoosh continues farming up. Again, I agree. A little bit of a silly face check there for V, but great news for RNG. MLXG especially with that quick sheen. Got himself 2 kills and an assist. And going to have that Rune Glaive probably on that next back.
And this is where RNG are comfortable. We talked about, you know, MLXG, the captain, the shot caller. He creates the snowball. There's maybe not quite the synergy between his jungle and his lanes. And they really just rely on him more so to be the hard carry, whereas Swift, he's still the hard carry of Xiaogu if they have one. Again, they have carries and playmakers across the board, but there's still more cohesion between his mid, his bot, and his top.
And I think a great thing to point out about MLXG this game, which is something you pointed out in the draft, where is all the pressure in this game?
Mid lane.
Mid lane. How rare is that? But you just talked about MLXG and Xiaohu not having as much synergy and then pouring all these resources into this Kassadin.
I don't necessarily think it's the resources, although he's doing a great job. I mean, it's very obvious that Xiaohu's saying, hey, they're going to dive me. Please come help me out and you're an adult. Just the fact that, you know, Xiaogu are playing the pressure here. It's not that RNG are being proactive around the map and setting it up. It's just they're being reactive to the fact that Swift trying to make plays there and RNG just responding. Pulling 4 people into that mid lane was absurd.
But that's what they needed, because if Xiaohu falls behind on this Kassadin, that late game potential is gone. So I love how RNG have been playing the early game. And, you know, reacting to some aggression here for Xiaohu shows maturity here for this team as MLXG level 6 with his Rune Glaive lining up a gank here. And
that's really been the story of RNG and kind of making this playoff run. We talked about Wushin's champion pool going above and beyond, pretty much quadrupling itself in a single week of games. Just expanding their pools, expanding their play styles. They've done some very creative compositions, and they look very serious to make a run.
Yeah, they do. About 1,000 gold up now here, so things looking good, but certainly not out of reach for Xiaogu as the game just ticks over the 10-minute mark. Rod of Ages almost complete there for Xiaohu, and just some general early items. Nothing massive just yet. It's Vayne, actually. It'll go back and get that recurve bow. Almost there with that Blade of the Ruin King.
Still no pressure on the dragon. Average dragon time for the LPL is between 11 and 12 minutes, so we're just about to hit that mark.
Yep. Seems quite late, actually. I feel like the LPL always runs into this problem with Dragon. Whereas you get to Dragon 3, you're like, I just want to take Baron. That's all I want.
Well, likewise, you have to think that they're big on 5v5, and around this minute mark, you're going to have everyone on the map have the ultimates available, as well as kind of the initial early itemization and buys. So it kind of makes sense that it would time here, just because they want to use Dragon as an arena to set up.
It's a good way to put it, as TCT in the bottom side. Trying to make sure TNT's lane's going nice and smooth. Just fine now for Vayne as he gets aggressive on the
He should have gone on that. He doesn't know where Eve is. I saw it in his heart. He was like, fear. I could just walk this guy down.
Well, we're going to clear the ward out there as well. Open up some more space here for Woosh. And Braum is level 6, going to get some of that effectiveness back. But he sort of loses in those middle levels.
Yeah, Braum loses a lot of power once he's kind of 2 through 5. As soon as he gets his ultimate back, obviously it swings back forward because it's a very high impact ult and also has a lot of versatility of engage versus disengage. The other interesting thing is you have a lot of burst damage coming out of your Graves Braum lane, but Graves can't as efficiently and effectively proc the concussive blows that, say, someone like Lucian can.
Yep.
Off of the double tap, but still concussive blows proc on top of your buckshot, on top of your collateral damage is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, if it gets proc, they are dead.
Yeah, with an ignite, that's pretty much, you're going to one rotation
and
someone.
We saw a bit of it from the mid lane ganks actually, that very curious but adorable Evelyn Bronze energy.
Yep.
It's always great. Doinby, though.
Curious but adorable.
It is really adorable. It's just such a strange interaction. But every time, I just remember watching that game. It's like, that was actually amazing. This poor guy, he's so dead. As everyone, again, grouping up around that dragon. But it's been quiet, honestly, after the first 4 kills. Too quiet for Oscarin.
Well, it makes sense that Xiaogu wouldn't be trying to force anything right now about MLXG.
Going under Doinby. Actually, might just 1v1 in Teleport Town. Will be matched by Stand United. Swift going to be in there as well. Now it's 2v3, but Let Me gets the taunt. Doinby, though, will cleanse out to safety. Agony's Embrace Shield going to keep MLXG relatively healthy as Let Me's trying to get out, but he's nice and tanky. Nice moves there from the jungler in top lane.
MLXG just trying to make the assassination right there. So they did force the teleport out of V. Cooldown advantage in Let Me's hands. He doesn't have the Stand United, but again, still has his teleport. So we'll see how they transition this into any sort of pressure.
Yeah, and Let Me's had a fine lane here on Shen as well, even against the Maokai on CS.
Look at him on top of Maokai here. He chased him all the way up back to his lane.
You can see Let Me thinking about some sort of 1v1, but we'll return to his lane instead. And now Xiaogu are going to clear out that Scuttle Crab and maybe look for a bit of a late dragon. No,
it's really smart because, again, they know that they're at a disadvantage right now because they don't have their teleport. So immediately, knowing that MLXG was low and that he would have to return to base, they understood that they had this window where they could walk in, place deep wards, but more importantly, secure the Scuttle Crab is kind of like a buffer, a timer to wait for that teleport cooldown to come back up. It's really just Swift trying to pad the disadvantage a bit.
Yep, just damage control here because Xiaogu in general, they need to sort of scale things up here. Vayne does have Blade of the Ruined King, but we'll need a little bit more time until she hits better effectiveness there. Victor as well, cooldown boots and 2 upgrades in that Hex score. Means that he's pretty effective right now, but Xiaogu, kind of like you've been alluding to, Frostgrowing, in no rush at this stage.
Yep, just waiting for Vayne to find her itemization, which she did just complete the Blade of the Ruined King. Waiting for the cooldown on their teleport. They could try to look for a play in the bottom lane, possibly in the mid, but I still feel like they're really just waiting on Maokai.
Yep, seem to be here. Everyone just going to relax. Xiaohu, though, also getting stronger if we want to talk about scaling. God of Ages, not quite there yet, but I think he might have completed it relatively recently. Yeah, you can see he does have it now. Got 2 stacks on it, so had it at a pretty good time here for Kassadin.
Yeah, you want to have it right before kind of 15, 30 for it to be stacked up at 20, 25.
Wuxo down the bottom side, also working on his Infinity Edge. It's not the super aggressive Brutalizer first we saw from recent LPL Graves, but it should be just fine here. As RNG more than happy to farm this out. And Xiaogu again just sort of saying the same thing. I guess the sentiment being projected across the rift is, yeah, meet you at about 20-25 minutes. Let's have a battle then.
Yep. The fact of the matter is that Vayne is stronger than Graves right now, at least through the duration of her ultimate alongside Janna. So you do have the advantage from your top laner, especially because the Stand United has almost come back up. But Vayne could just very easily assassinate Graves, so I'm not going to try to force that one. I still think there's more onus on RNG to make a proactive play, which is why we see MLXG kind of setting up, looking for the bottom, because they have this very small window where they can be active.
Nice ward there as well, but Xiaogu will get off the bottom turret there. Will get taken by Graves as a result, so bit of a gold lead now for RNG. They'll pad those stats just a bit more here, but again, still relatively close between the two teams. I don't think we've hit 2,000 as a gold lead yet here in this game. The most is actually right now, sitting about 1,500. MLXG going to contest for the Raptors? Nope. Doesn't want to.
He wants to see if Doinby's going to come out far enough, especially because the gravitational field is down. Let's look for it now.
Well. Delicious. Oh, just goes in, smites it. Qiao's here as well. Doinby could actually be in trouble. Ultimate used by MLXG, but did not want to commit to that.
A bit of a miscommunication right there. Like I said, the big thing is once he saw the gravitational field go down, he knew that there was no way to for Victor to peel for himself. So that's why he decided to commit at that instance.
Makes sense here as Qiao hits level 11. Amplifying Tome there as well, so probably a Zhonya's coming up next as Swift. Has to be careful. Spots Evelyn there, but RNG with Infinity Edge on Graves have decided now is the time to do this dragon.
The Stand United is back up and available as well. Shen does have the teleport, and again, V doesn't.
Nope, so can't join in just yet. If Xiaogu can buy some time, they'll be able to. TNC pushing out the bottom side there as well, creating enough pressure just generally across the rift that, again, RNG just playing very safe.
Xiaogu again Still doing a great job, though, stalling them out, waiting for Maokai. I feel like RNG, you know, trying to be a bit proactive, but it kind of speaks to how disjointed they can be sometimes as a whole unit since they haven't been a roster that long. Just look a little bit uncomfortable to try to force that one.
Yeah. And we've seen V. If he can sit in a lane and farm, that is his preference as a player. He will farm forever on his top lane tank until it gets to a point where Xiaogu just know they can win any team fight. Let me taunt there out onto the Maokai. A bit of damage out with the Barmy Cinder helping, but nothing just yet here as Swift once again will take control of this Battle Crab.
Yeah, this is just... he moved his ping cord so they couldn't deny it. That was cute from Lei. But yeah, frankly, I think that this was misplayed from RNG. They had the advantage, they had the cooldown and numbers advantage on the bottom side of the map. Xiaogu did a great job, you know, kind of minimizing it and trying to control the situation by, you know, daring RNG, not giving them the perfect situation, but they still should have tried to make a proactive play right there, and this may come back to bite them as, again, both teams now setting up for a 5v5 on fair footing. Yep,
18 minutes and Dragon 1 still hasn't been taken by either team. RNG still with that lead. It's about 2,000, 2,500 gold or so up right now, but certainly the Xiaogu side only getting stronger from this point. And sure, RNG is scaling up as well, but not a whole lot of room on this map to make plays here with those towers all being up still.
Really big power spike, though. I'm glad that you pointed out RNG are also scaling. The fact that Cassidy now has the needlessly large, so a bit of extra AP there, but more importantly, Wushin having the Infinity Edge complete.
Yeah, had it for that last Dragon fight, but didn't want to use it. But they can fight if they want to here. Doinby, though, nice power transfer, actually. Shields off some of that damage there from Kasten. So we are going to have TNT try and take this red buff. MLXG will spot them, but can't really take it to Vanejan in 2v2. Little too dangerous. Ooh, Swift finds Lei, actually, as Woosh comes in as well.
He has pass.
MLXG coming in. TCT's quite squishy. MLXG gets exhausted, going to try and finish this off. Doinby in as well as Xiao, who really wanted that assassination, but they'll get Swift instead. Woosh gets the kill.
Swift, what are you doing, mate? He's got Flash and Cask up and available.
Who's in the shop? I don't know. Distracted, maybe? Whatever it was, got himself killed in his own jungle, and RNG will get Dragon 1.
Yeah, that's disaster right there. Obviously, just a huge mechanic misstep from Swift. You should never die if you have your Flash and your massive disengage ultimate available. Likewise, miscommunication between TNT and TCT. TNT really wanted to finish that red buff, and TCT really wanted to get away from RNG.
Yep, because MLXG was going to kill him, and didn't get him, but got the jungler instead. Probably an even better prize as RNG are able to finally take a late Dragon 1 here, but a Dragon nonetheless. So a bit more space around the map now. Top side much more valuable as far as real estate goes here on the Rift. But everyone, again, just kind of back to farming. Xiaogu more than content to keep this main.
I mean, Xiaogu invested a lot into setting up to contest that dragon. However, you think the fact that TNT was getting the red buff right there, it's because they were prepping to fight. Now what you're going to see, obviously with RNG having control over the bottom side of the map by taking the first tier tower, they're going to go ahead and send Wushin into that middle lane to start pushing down mid-tier tower, which is why Xiaohu's now been kicked down to bottom, because you want to separate the farm between your Kassadin and your Graves.
Yeah. Is there anything more to that as well, or is it simply a matter of separating the farm once your carries?
Well, it's also the fact that Kassadin has great assassination potential right now. I'd be curious. TNT would have to play it very well, especially because Xiaohu has the Ignite. If he decided to push against that, because obviously mobility in an elongated lane on the Assassin, it's just very safe.
It's got this now as well, so even trickier for that 1v1. Xiaohu looking nice and strong here at level 13, but MLXG going to try and defend this turret in the top lane. Xiaogu, though, going to beat them to the punch and take it out.
Good job from Xiaogu to kind of rotate play with map pressure themselves. They do find a free objective. It's not the most helpful for them on the map, but again, with Dragon down, they do have that 6-minute window where they could play to the top side without trading any sort of objective.
You can see RNG very aggressively grouping together, trying to force a fight here, but might be better served just farming things out for a little while longer, getting levels going through, especially out on Xiaohu's Kassadin. If they can beat them to this rotation, they might be able to take mid lane turret. TNT has to be careful, barely misses getting tagged by Winter's Bite.
Yeah, Xiaogu look a bit disorganized right now. Did manage to stagger out their backs pretty well here, although RNG just going to approach the tower.
Swift, nice ulti after the body slam. Agony's Embrace popped. Going to tank out the tower a bit. Woosh just trying to take it out. Maokai's going to rejoin soon, though. B walks in, and RNG probably 4v4. can't afford to fight here.
And this is one of the problems of the Kassadin Grave composition, is that you don't have a lot of wave clear or siege potential. Yes, you have a nice steroid with Graves, but his range is still relatively short. And Kassadin, it's so dangerous to just walk up into melee that tower. You don't offer a lot of zone threat unless you're standing on the side, because you're so powerful that you can just hop.
Ulti out now as well. They'll jump on a Doinby. Let Me dives in there as well. And the Shen is the ulti out from Braum. Clips 1 or 2V, getting low on the front side, but Doinby's taking out the tank there as Shen falls down, and Xiao just doesn't do enough. Swift barely missing that body slam after the flash. RNG trying to kite away as best they can, but Xiaogu have so much chase. Xiaohu lucky to be alive.
Really good CC coming out of Qiao, members. They do end up trading, what, 1 for 0, so just a slight advantage as well as securing their mid-tier tower. I feel like it was a bit of a delayed disengage from TCT, in all honesty, but not terrible. Doesn't give them any sort of big advantage, however. It's not like they can translate that into a dragon, although they get a bottom tier tower.
Xiao wants this here, but they're so low.
He has Hourglass.
Tumbles out of the way. The port's going to be down there as well. Going to go in, but the Hourglass will save him from the next proc of Silver Ball. Forced to flash out as well. The exhaust down for TCT as Evelyn will fall down, but Let Me going to find TNT heals just at the last second. Condemn away might be enough. No lay. Flash Auto is going to secure that one, and Woosh now is going to cut up TCT. Good tag from the Winter's Bite as Xiaohu takes him out.
But this is what I'm talking about, the communication between MLXG and Xiaohu, the fact that he had the stasis, knowing that he set it up for perfect positioning to flash over the wall. There was no reason for MLXG to go back in to attempt to help his buddy, because it wasn't communicated, I'm going to flash, I'm fine, don't come in. So they end up trading 1 for 2, still better for RNG, but kind of a needless miscommunication.
Tower goes down as well. TNT managed to get it just before dying there, so Gold will get even back up to just under 1,000 between the two sides, but Xiaogu only getting stronger. So let's watch this again.
The big thing, of course, is the teleport coming back through, but here's where MLXG makes the mistake. He could have just sat right there. Unfortunately, he steps forward. TCT does a fantastic job making sure that he lands the relevant CC, and then from here, it's just a beautiful collapse from RNG, especially Graves on the other side.
Fight here as well, though, is V going to lock up Lay with a twisted advance. Swift eats a bit of poke there from Kassadin, as RNG been sitting around for too long, really want to start to fight this out. Red buff. They want it, but TNT is going to get it.
Doinby's here.
Doinby is
very
here.
Scary to approach it with Victor there.
Yeah, we've seen what Victor can do to people when you run headfirst at him. And Doinby, his atomization is well and truly underway.
More importantly as well, you have 2 big waves pressuring on the side. For RNG, we see that Swift is right now dealing with the bottom one, but someone will have to respond to that massive top side wave. They're backing and setting up for the dragon, which will be spawning in 30 seconds. Let Me
going to pressure as well as Swift. Might stop his back here. Xiaohu going to push in onto this tier 2. So good split push pressure here from RNG as Doinby continues to keep the mid turret up.
Frankly, just a lot of mistakes from Xiaogu, actually, in kind of their macro play and their resource management around the map. RNG are just playing the map better. The initial kind of 5v5 that we've had, Xiaogu, came out on top, but a little bit of over-aggression from TNT and TCT quickly swung that back. And again, RNG just playing the better macro game right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Not what I would have expected coming into the matchup, but nice to see, again, RNG maturing as a team, playing things a bit more safely, a bit more calculated, but still with the level of mechanics and aggression that's won them so many games this year alone. Qiao and MLXG will team up for a dragon. No vision in the pit there for Xiaogu. Means that no way to know this is going down. That's going to be number 2, very clean. The Royal Never Give Up.
I mean, you have to think about it. RNG and Xiaogu, they're on opposite ends of the standings, but it just speaks to the fact that Xiaogu have been consistent in their performance, whereas RNG, again, we see these big high spikes where they're able to take down top-tier teams or at least put up a challenging front, but consistently they can't do it. So, people will look at this match on terms of the schedule and be like, okay, Xiaogu should just smash RNG. But if you watch the games, they're usually much closer, and it's just RNG individually across the board just make too many mistakes on individual players to warrant a higher standing seed.
I also think that this particular team comp merits a lot of patience from Xiaogu. Yeah. They have been waiting so long. And look at that gold lead. Still not really much in it. And Xiaogu are still able to make plays. They know they can wait and just fight with Victor Vane in the late game.
They're 5v5. That's what Xiaogu do. They understand where they're strong. They understand how to execute it.
We'll see if RNG can break some of that up here. I like Xiaohu split pushing in the bottom side, but see what happens there, especially with Let Me in the top pressuring that tower as well. MLXG has been very proactive this game, trying to get himself around, provide a bit of extra vision or some flanks, but the towers are hurting here. RNG, they've got no room to move, seems to be the big issue.
Yeah, he's looking for the flank, and that's what's really important with Evelynn, is that you can't come front to back, because obviously you'd be spotted out by stealth, but they may have got the better angle on this.
Swift, that disengage ultimate again. The Jarnagraga's gatekeeping along with the Victor makes RNG's poor siege that much harder to take down turrets.
Get over this red buff right now.
Oh yeah, it's been floating next up. MLXG for a little while now. It's his friend as he moves through the enemy jungle, unnoticed there by those green wards. Whoosh, getting bigger as well. Phantom Dancer a bit more late game oriented there in his build. No early static shift for the mid game because they know this game is going to take a while.
Well, he also doesn't need the wave clear. He's not going to be split pushing by himself with the static shift against a Cassidy who can just run him down, especially with that's on his hourglass. And Victor offers enough wave clear to the team that he can look to just be full damage oriented and build more crit.
Makes sense for both the AD carry players. There is TNT getting nice and strong, actually having farm seeded to him by Doinby as Wu should come in and clean up these 6 minions. Qiao, who level 15 now, getting ever so close to the important level 16. And Blue Buff up here as well. Nice important objective for RNG to take.
Going to be a very happy Cassidy. He noted that he did choose to itemize into the CDR boots. So like you said, level 16, just that more prominent on top of the itemization that he has. 'Cause it's all about how quickly and often he can walk around these team fights.
I've had a pretty big lull in this game here as well, but let's talk team compositions for a moment. We already talked about Xiaogu wanting to 5v5.
It's a dive comp versus a zone comp. So RNG have a lot of tools on their composition to get back and to assassinate Lucian. That said, Xiaogu did a great job kind of bridging their power points by the fact that it's a Vayne and a Victor. It's not someone like a Lulu or... I mean, the other big one would be Azir, but Azir is going to hyperscale into late game anyway. So it's even if they dive onto TNT and they find the assassination, you still have to deal with Doinby. So I like the fact that they're bringing multiple threats on the side of Xiaogu. But again, it's, you know, the Maokai, the disengage of Cask, Monsoon, the gravitational field, the Chaos Storm, creating all of this space for Vayne to run wild. On the other side, you have the taunt, the flank from Evelynn. Like I said, Evelynn can't walk to a composition front to back because you're just going to see her in the stealth and just going to back up. She has to have flanking wards and a lot of space. Like you said, when the map opens up, when these towers go down, it empowers Eve because she's able to slip in behind you. Same thing with Cassidy, just walking from the side. So the question now is, where is RNG's true front line? And then it makes sense, you know, why they would prioritize Braum so early in their draft, because they need someone who's going to stop a lot of that damage and just kind of act as the big front line, since MLXG and Xiaohu aren't going to offer any sort of disengage or space control in front of them.
Is it maybe safe to say then that 5v5, it's more about execution than necessary scaling for these teams?
Yes, although late game, I'm still going to give it to Xiaogu 110%, because then you're looking for Wushin as your burst damage, so he just has to completely delete someone, and it's all on Xiaohu to get multiple rotations off of his spells to kind of clean everyone up. But again, against so much CC and space control, that's going to be very dangerous, whereas Vayne late game, ridiculously scary. Victor late game, ridiculously scary.
Yeah, I feel like Victor Vayne, with this, like this sort of comp that Xiaogu have been playing, really indicative of what we've seen a lot in the current metagame, because Vayne is a threat that is difficult to enable, but if you enable her, she just rips through people.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see how it works out. Dragon up in a minute. Be number 3 for RNG or number 1 for Xiaogu. It's been a slow slog as far as major objectives go. Much more, I guess, map movement and farm priority have really been the big tenets of this particular game. But 3-1 up in tower for Xiaogu, you can just see, at a very simple level, they just have more space.
It's a little bit concerning, however. RNG have been playing much better than their standing would, you know, show from them. I can agree with that. But Xiaogu, if they continue to play kind of this late game 5v5, kind of put all of their eggs in one style, in one basket, that's very scary looking across from teams like LGD, like OMG, like Snake, like EDG, who can play these multiple variations of styles. Because EDG will not let Xiaogu get away with, you know, stalling a game out to 35 minutes before really any major action.
No, and I wonder if it's more of a choice against their opponents here for Xiaogu, where it's like, we think we can outplay you and outscale you, so let's just play for that rather than maybe running into some problems by being too aggressive. And Xiaogu are at least positioning around the dragon. They do have good wards down there as well, but there he is, ready to be taken away.
He's handsome.
He's very handsome, but 32 minutes in, Dragon's up, but Baron, of course, has to be a big consideration as well.
If this dragon fight goes one way or the other, it's automatically a Baron. This is gonna, if two teams fight for this, this can be a massive swing point for either.
Well, RNG not in position. Xiaogu gonna chunk it down with the Vayne Victor. RNG probably giving it up there.
It's not going to get easier for RNG at this point. You have Kassadin level 16. He has the Hourglass complete, so not quite sure why they chose not to fight that one. I agree that it's a scary proposition because Xiaogu got on top of the objective first. But at the same time, you should have been prepping for that because you can't afford to not fight anymore. We talked about how it's mostly about execution in terms of how these compositions sit, but I'm still going to give late game an edge to Xiaogu because of the Vayne, because of the Victor. So window of opportunity closing very quickly.
Yep. I mean, Xiaohu's ready to go. He wants to kill some people. See if he can do just that here. V down the bottom side. Going to collect that farm, push the wave back, and be able to teleport in if needed. Baron, of course, a big buff right now. Everyone's going to be in the top half of the map trying to make sure this stays up. And it's Xiaogu's vision that's been exceptional in the last 10 minutes of this game. Even just looking down now and seeing their pink wards. Really nice control. Ooh, nice dodge.
He didn't even get the ward in the bush either.
You can see the defensive pinks there, the good placing around the Baron area, in particular for Xiaogu, giving them all the information they need to make sure they take the game to a point where they're comfortable. See Doinby sitting on an Hourglass and Abyssal and working on that Void stuff. No perfect Hex Core just yet, but he'll take some damage. Talisman pop there from TCT to disengage, but no major cooldowns used there.
The fact that this mid-tier tower has been up for
so long,
the entire game, is really punishing to Eve. Like you said, they don't have the space to set up a flank to get behind it. Although they have to look for the dive, but diving Maokai, Janna, Gragas, and Victor is suicidal. Yeah,
it is now. Would have maybe been a thing a short while ago, but RNG perhaps been a bit too laid back in this particular game.
No, really, I completely agree. They weren't proactive enough, and now they're going to get punished for it because they're just going to get outscaled. They chose not to fight when they were strong, and now that Xiaogu are stronger, it's like, uh-oh, what do we do?
Well, it's getting tricky.
Make picks.
I guess so. Xiaohu backing again there from the bottom side. Didn't actually push that wave down, I don't think. But a little too scary to face check. Need to see Large Rod. The selection there, so a Death Cap going to be the next item there for Kassadin. We do have 4th items on the way for a lot of these carries, and Whoosh still, TNT, sorry, on the Vayne is still getting himself to that 3-item spot to join that QSS. But damage will still be there for Xiaogu, especially over on the Victor side of things.
Is he itemizing a Last Whisper? Or is he going for an the edge?
That is TNT's personal secret. Could be anything. Could even be a boat.
Nope.
That's probably going to be a Last Whisper.
Could even be a boat.
Yeah.
Okay. We're posturing for Baron.
A box is just a box, let's go.
We're posturing for Baron.
Lei going to get caught. Knocks back. Nice unbreakable. Xiaohu poking there on the Kassadin as well.
They just need to buy time for Let Me in the bottom side to take this tower.
Yeah, but blind here for RNG makes things a little trickier. People missing Rek'Sai at this point of the game. There's V going to pop that Talisman. Black Story in there as well. Going to run straight for Lei. Good ulti there. Knocks up the tanks. They need to peel this tank line. Swift getting far too low. Will die there to Whoosh. Now Xiaohu going to go into the backlines, but he needs to pop Zonies. Does do it the last second, but that's too late as TNT's going to take him out. Now V going to dive in onto Whoosh, who flashes out of the way, but Lei trying to peel off TNT is not strong enough. Now V going to chase them down. Whoosh will be the next target, gets focused out and killed. And Let Me and MLXG, the only ones left alive.
And Swift died at the very beginning of that fight, went way too deep, didn't even get a chance to blow his ultimate, so a massive cooldown wasn't used, but again, it doesn't matter. Xiaogu just outscaled RNG. They had the better positioning on the 5v5. Victor and Vayne completely untouched.
Yeah, and now teleport coming in for Let Me.
They don't have smite.
Gonna try and make something happen. Yeah, MLXG does have flash and smite. Let Me's here as well. Put a ward into the backside, but TNT's gonna move that out. MLXG gonna have to reach out with his feelings and try and get it. The ward down again. There. 2,000 up now. They're gonna take their time. Xiaogu know MLXG's here. TNT wants to kill him. Good scrying ult. They don't have vision. MLXG, does he smell it? The instincts, he needs to reach out. He's going to take his time. He gets condemned. It's going to be too late now. Baron goes to Swift, who manages to revive in time.
MLXG, just flash in.
Just get in there.
Just get in there.
Qiao did a really good job buying time on that Baron.
They did a really good job also zoning off the wall. You knew as soon as he flashed in, because Vayne was sitting right there, he did burn the condemn. But let's quickly look at this last team fight. Look at how deep Swift goes, and he just CC chain after CC chain. A displacement into the concussive blows, doesn't even get his cask off. Doesn't matter though, Doinby TNT, if you've noticed something, they don't have any damage on them. They've literally only expended mana as they just wreck through RNG's front line. V doing a great job getting onto the back line, locked up Lucian, I believe, in 2 back-to-back twisted advance. Just ran away with it.
Yeah, and Qiao, who just couldn't find a premier assassination target. Things went bad there for RNG in that team fight, and Xiaogu now find themselves about 2,500 gold ahead. Dragon spawning again. TNT did go for the Infinity Edge Frost going. It was not a Last Whisper or a boat. It was an Infinity Edge.
It wasn't a boat. I figured he would go for the Eye Edge just because he had the Phantom Dancer.
Yep.
And he would need more crit to kind of double up his damage.
Yeah, and there we go. I mean, Silver Bolts makes critting the somewhat flimsy tanks for RNG not that tricky, I guess.
I feel like our camera is really close in. Don't we feel like, there we go.
Hey, I like it. Close up with the action. There we go. There's TNT plugging away at the towers. RNG did get mid-tower in that last exchange during the replay, by the way, so finally, that was what we saw.
It's down, boys.
Of that tower
Our comp
down.
can be unleashed now.
But
Eve can get behind him.
It might be a little too late, as Dragon
Oh,
is
you
back
think?
up. Look, I'm no expert.
I'm not an expert.
Is Xiaogu going to take out that Dragon? Number 2 there for Xiaogu again. Just been so patient in this series, but in this game, sorry, but it has been paying off.
So here's the Hail Mary for RNG. How do they win this game? How do they get back into it? They need to get a pick on either Doinby or TNT.
They're about to get picked. V's teleported in with home guards. Yeah, all right. Found the Brom, not who we wanted, but zones them off the inhibitor.
He was a pretty scary Splinter running out there.
Very scary. MLXG, wards down there, wants to try and find that flank, but again, Xiaogu never separating too far from each other, making it difficult for old everyone.
Makes sense. If you just buddy system, hold hands, can't get a pick.
Nope.
No pick, no comeback.
And it's been kind of the story of this game. Everyone actually going to be face checked. That's a good taunt, but a nice cleanse gets him out of it. There's the ulti coming out for Brom. Is MLXG going to get himself away? Xiao gets exhausted. He has to be careful as Lei has fallen to TNT. Now Wooch going to get knocked up there as V going massive in the backside. Going to give TNT a double. Make that 3 there as Vayne gets another. And that's a triple kill for TNT.
No pick, no team fight. They almost got it with Doinby face checking that side with so many members dead on RNG. They're going to go ahead and walk up the mid. Baron and powered minions. This should be the game, and unfortunately RNG, their playoff run, stopping a little bit short now.
Yep. Need to win this game, but it's proving ever so difficult here in this one. As Xiaogu is trying to close out game number 1 in this best of 2. Xiaohu going in, pops his Zonians, but he doesn't have enough. Maka is going to take him out. It's actually Gragas that gets himself the kill. MLXG trying to fend them off, but it's too much damage. Xiaogu still 5 strong, going to take out the Nexus. Somebody's trying to chase MLXG, but the Nexus will fall, and Xiaogu take game number 1.
Slow and steady wins the race. They understood when their competition was strong. Swift did a great job kind of shoring up the early game macro misplays, controlling the Dragon. Very late initial Dragon, what, like 18 minutes? So yeah. Xiaogu, you know, understanding that they maybe fumbled the early game a bit, was able to stall it out, get Doinby and TNT online, and just run away with it.
And again, that Victor Vayne v Super Tank combo that we've seen from countless teams, but Xiaogu in particular showing its strength once again. I feel like people are going to start banning Victor, specifically away from Doinby. Not that he's the only good Victor player in the LPL, but because him and Xiaogu play around the pick so well.
The fact that their priority, because Xiaogu were on blue side, they didn't priority pick Victor. They took it in second rotation, which normally they would have. We talked about, you know, Xiaogu, they have an incredible win rate on blue side versus their purple side. So what is it? Well, I went back and I looked, you know, what are they priority picking more often than not? And it's their bot lane. You know, either Sivir, Janna, or Kalista. So you look at Xiaogu, you say, okay, Swift is really strong. Doinby's looking fantastic on Victor. It's a massive pick for them. but it's their bot lane, the low econ bot lane that tends to kind of carry Xiao through, and when they prioritize it through their draft phase, they win more.
It does feel like TNT, his leash has gotten a little longer in the bottom lane, I feel like.
I'm just imagining this tiny little dog.
Yeah.
On like one of those like retractable leashes.
With a crossbow.
With a crossbow?
Yeah. Dango.
Oh.
Shooting people down. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like, how? Realistically,